So I'm off to shoot a wedding. Now this is a different scenario because I was hired by the groom's mother to shoot a black and white set of images for the wedding. I'm outside the official photographer. Now I make sure or ask several times to make sure that they, tell the official photographer, make sure it's okay, that I'll be there and it won't bother them. They don't always do that. So, it's really hit and miss. I mean, I've had photographers go to the bride and groom saying, I'm not doing any photos until he leaves, which really cracks me up. But, sometimes it can get a little hairy. Otherwise, I'm out of the way. I'm never in the shots. I never do their shots. I'm doing totally separate shots of everything else. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon with the shots this photographer sets up or anything like that. So it's not like I'm hijacking what they're doing, but it still can be, a little edgy at times. But anyway, I'm just taking you on this journey with me to show you what I do and how I do it in these scenarios, and see how we do. Anyway, enjoy this shoot. I'll get as many clips as I can throughout this thing. I just don't want to be obnoxious and in the way. So I'm going to stay back through most of this and just get some candid shots of what's going on. Anyway, let's get into the wedding part of it. Okay, so this is my non-wedding day wedding day. Now, this whole video is about my favorite flash modifier, my Speedlight modifier, the one I use at most events. And I really want to show it to you, when I have higher ceilings or non-white ceilings. Now, down here, this is the bride and bridal party getting ready. This is where they get ready in this venue. It is in the basement of the building. There is no natural light. There's a mirror on the ceiling. It is a just demon if you want to use a flash down here. So I just shoot it naturally. I'm at 12,800 ISO and I have no issue with the images. I think the noise that it's creating is fine. There's, it just gives the vibe of the space. And when they see these photos, they're going to recognize where they were and how it looked. So I'm happy with these. Now, surprisingly, I'm shooting a lot of the getting ready. Their photographer wasn't here yet, wasn't here for the getting ready part, which, to each their own. But I was here and they did ask me to shoot some photos that I didn't expect to shoot, which I had no problem with and was happy to do. So just walking around and meeting everybody, getting to know everybody, letting them know who I was and that I'm not the photographer. I'll just be walking around like, an uncle with a camera. It just makes it a lot more fun that way. They're not posing for me. Let them pose for the other photographer. I'm good with that. I know how weddings are shot today, and I personally don't like it. One of the brides came to me that didn't book with me, and she came back to me and said, I want to show you my album. Now, there was nothing wrong with the photos, and she was the first to say, she said, the photos are beautiful, but she said, all I can think about every time I turn a page is, this is where I was pretending to do this. This is where I was pretending to do that, because everything was set up. There was nothing natural, and that bothered her in the end. She loves the photos, was happy with the album, but then realized that everything was just fake. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people love that. For me, I would rather be a second shooter or shoot like I'm shooting this, as a spare photographer just coming to enjoy the event and shoot. This to me is my favorite because I get to shoot things that are actually happening when they happen, during the ceremony and the reception. Like I said, I did shoot a couple, grip and grins prior because, the other photographer wasn't there. So I just wanted to get those. Now for this, we're getting into the actual ceremony kind of thing. Then I just get to shoot whatever I want and everybody ignores me. And I love that. It just works for me. Because everything that I'm shooting is real. I'm not setting anything up or asking people to stand a certain way or in a certain area. That's what I like. Now, I'm shooting with the Voigtlander 75 1.9, I think it is. I'm using this lens a lot more at events and venues. And, it does work really well for me. I love the reach. It's not a 90. I probably could have used the 90 a couple times in this event, but I only brought the 75 because I really wanted to stay casual and not worry about anything. And this lens did the job. It was, it gives beautiful fall off when you open it wide open. And this is the chef. Always take a picture of the chef and get in good with the chef, or whatever venue you're at. It'll help in the long run, I promise you. You saw the back of somebody's head. I shot that because, the hair was beautiful. I knew the stylist, so I get to send that to her. And then she recommends me for other people's weddings. But, that kind of stuff you have to look for and take advantage of when you see it. This stuff, them just grouped up and having fun prior to the, now they did the reveal. So this is her going to the reveal prior to the ceremony, which I'm not like keen on. I love to see a groom's face when a bride walks up the aisle. I just think that's everything. But I understand why people do it now. I think it's more for photos than anything. So they can spend 2 hours doing photos, which I think is crazy on a hot summer day. Now this wasn't that hot because it was a downpour after this, but, I spend 15 minutes shooting those photos when it's like that because, they don't want to be hot and sweaty before they even walk down the aisle. It just drives me crazy. Anyway, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself, I promise. So when I go into the, ceremony area, I do a bunch of photos, of family and so forth. This is doing two things. Like I'm getting photos of everybody that's, at the event. Plus I'm practicing with the lighting and, the environment to see how the photos are going to look, see what my best settings are for this area. So it does take care of two things, photos of the family and getting ready for the actual ceremony part. And again, I'm doing this a little different. I'm doing the video and then just showing photos after because I couldn't really match it up. As I did sparse video through this, and in short bursts, because I didn't want to be concentrating on the video versus the actual photos of everybody coming up. Now, this is, the main photographer is there. So, my only goal here is to stay out of her way, both up front, in back, and everywhere else. So I really had to place myself and keep an eye on her as much as the ceremony and the, the people, because I didn't want to be in her way when she's shooting this stuff. I was up front at this point. She's far to the right. Now, this is where I would have loved to be for the bridal party coming up and the bride walking up. These are the action photos that you can't shoot with a manual focus camera, by the way. I'm just throwing that shot in there. I'm shooting this all in manual, just so you know. And there's some action stuff going on. But again, remember, these are all going to be black and white. So I didn't color correct or anything like that. I'm just showing you straight out of camera so you can see what I'm seeing, from the camera itself. I'm shooting at this 75, I think, still, or I may have switched to the 35. I'm not really sure, which honestly, it really doesn't matter. Now the other photographer was using flash in here. I don't know. I am shooting the 75. I apologize. I haven't seen her photos yet, so I don't know how they are. I'm sure they're fantastic. I'm sure she did a great job. But we definitely have two different shooting styles. And you watch and learn, because even somebody that's a little bit newer at this than you are, you may pick up some tips and tricks when you're shooting, side by side with somebody that you wouldn't have thought about normally. And I wasn't paying that much attention to her other than finding out where she was in the venue at what time so I can stay out of her way. Because remember, like their wedding album is coming from her, and I do not want to be in one of the photos because it's just intrusive, and you just have to be mindful of that. Now I'm switching back over to the 35 1.5, the Voigtlander. I do love this lens. I've been using this so much, and it does work really, really well. I did get the brass one, and I love it. Anyway, so now I'm going to take a seat as a guest because I can't move around. I can't go to the center aisle because I know that she'll be in the center aisle shooting up and walking back and forth in that center, and I don't want to be, at all in her view. So this is me doing a circle around the whole ceremony while trying to keep an eye on her and seeing where she's at. But these are my different views. Now, this is from the chair that I was sitting at. And again, not my favorite angle, but I was shooting as a guest. So, it is a different angle than they'll get for the wedding album, which may be helpful and they may like. But anyway, enough about that. Getting all the different shots, just fun. Now, here is my favorite modifier. This is what I've been waiting for. This is an index card. It's just that simple. It's an index card with a rubber band. Now, normally you see me shooting with that Stoffen type diffuser on top of the flash, and then I just put the bounce card up underneath that. But since these ceilings are so high and brown, I use this index card. Now, all I have to do is bend that index card, and I have the best modifier you possibly get at a wedding. It is so simple to use, and it doesn't matter if it gets damaged or wet, you throw it away and put another one in. It's that simple. And there's the bend in it. Here's my test shot. I do a quick test shot to make sure my settings are good. There's the image. It is a beautiful modifier. There's the bend that I have in it just to push that light forward versus going up to the ceiling. And that's all I need for a wedding or any event. It just works great. Now, if I have a lower ceiling, I can just use that without that. And I just put that, the diffuser on with the card up. But this is the light that I'm getting from this really, really expensive modifier. I think it'll cost you about half a cent to a penny each card. I buy a pack of those cards maybe once every 5 years, and I just take 2 or 3 with me, for each event. And they get damaged because it's paper. It's called a white index card. Look it up on Amazon. And a rubber band. It's really that simple, and it produces such beautiful light. If you have never tried this, please try this, because I think you'll really appreciate the light that it produces. As you can see here, I love the light. I think it's fantastic. Now, here's the thing. I shot this whole reception is probably, 2.5 hours long with one set of AA batteries. I know everybody bitches that, these lights have AA batteries. They're not on the rechargeable. But I always take the strobe that was made for the camera, whether it's Leica or Sony, because they work best for me and I love the look of them. So that's why I use them. And AA batteries, like I said, I had a spare set in my pocket, swearing I was going to need to put them on. I never even had to put them on. I think, these photos I overpowered with flash just a little bit. I think I could have pulled more of the ambient, but I like the look because, again, they're going black and white, so it really didn't matter that much. For color, I would have probably liked to pull that flash down just a little bit more and brought a little bit more of the ambient in, but I do like the look. And again, this is all manual focus, folks. Busy dance floor, it works. Your autofocus on your camera is good enough, I promise you.